And so I'm arguing, I'm being really off the rockers crazy to start questioning that seriously and start seeking to live and relate to each other differently, right? And as a first piece of advice to the youth, I would say that if you're tuning into us, stop tuning into us. Stop listening to what we do for ourselves.
Welcome everyone to the Bewilder Herd podcast. Today is going to be a good episode. I think the last two have been pretty intense, so we'll see how this one goes. And so like always, I'm joined by my two lovely friends, Edgar and Carlos. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good,
How are we doing
sir.
this morning? Good.
Good, man. You need to find another word for lovely. Or is
Lovely.
this a well-established route that your brain now
I
takes?
I like lovely. I need to buy myself a thesaurus and and get good
I don't
another
I don't
word
mind
to.
being called lovely.
I mean, I don't know if I do, but
Is it
I
too
don't know if I would call
cutesy?
myself lovely, you know?
Is it too cutesy for you?
Yeah.
What a man!
Keep
What a
doing it
man!
then.
So today I have the honor of picking today's topic, and it's a topic that I've had in my mind for quite a while now. Um, Mainly because at work I've been given the responsibility of have a summer intern, and this year has been my second year as a summer intern mentor. But I always found it interesting how at my job, the people who are in charge of of interns, are called mentors. They don't really call them like the boss or, the engineer, And so I always thought that word was really interesting. And when I was growing up, I always seeked for a type of mentor that could guide me and and lead me um to the correct choices in life, right? And so today's episode, I kind of want to talk about that and get your thoughts on why is it important to mentor the new generation, and maybe get some tips or advice you would give to some of these kids and new generations, or people that are younger than us, young adults that are younger than us. What advice would you give them in the different sets of life that we have today? And also, another reason why this episode is a good episode to have today is because a lot of these youthful people are going back to school. So going back to school, I think in past episodes we've seen it as like it's a new start, it's a new mission and vision that we can give ourselves, or it's a the perfect time to start new goals, right? So I think this would be a good episode to have today. So So let me just start off by asking the perspective from both of you guys. Like, how important is it to be a mentor? How important do you guys think it is to guide those who are younger than you? Do you think it's absolutely necessary? Do you think it's something that should be done a lot? Did you do it? Did you have a mentor when you were growing up? I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah, I can start. It's really important to have a mentor, and the reason I say that is because there's a NPR episode. You guys ever hear Hidden Brain podcast on NPR?
Yeah. No.
Okay, yeah, there was a Hidden Brain episode on getting out of like poverty or your zip code, and it's really hard to. So like, let's say you're born in a zip code where there's a lot of poverty. It's really hard to get out of that. And the study found that the people that did get out, they were trying to find out like what did they have in common. So basically, like people that became successful despite growing up, maybe with people that never went to college, or people that just lived in a lot of poverty, and trying to break that cycle. And what the study found was that there was one thing that the few people that made it out had in common, and that was that they knew somebody that also had made it out. In other words, they had a mentor that could guide them and kind of like show them the way. The other people that remain in the hood or the poverty areas, they just unfortunately didn't have anyone that they can aspire to that could show them how to do it. And so, yeah, I mean, that study shows that, and it goes both for mentor and mentee. For mentees, that they need to find a role model that has done it before, whatever it is that they're trying to do. So if they're trying to go to college, then they need to find someone like them that looks like them that has done it before. And for mentors, I mean, you see how important it is to be there for somebody that has never done this before. So it goes both ways. I think it is really important to do it.
I mean, I don't like NPR. I think NPR is based on a lot on identity politics, and it falls very neatly in this model of the mass media that I've kept arguing here keeps us subjugated to the system, to the way it's perpetuated.
But hey,
And the
but
study,
the podcast is not like it's just like its own independent thing. It's just on NPR.
yeah, but if you're on NPR, you are implicitly or very explicitly governed by those five filters of the mass media I keep mentioning, right? That
Mm,
they're explained in Manufacturing Consent by Noam Chomsky.
mm-hmm,
But speaking to the study, I mean, it sounds very reasonable, right? Like you know someone who mentored you and who helped you out, who guided you. You know, you have someone who you can aspire to be. And I could take this and make it really personal. For me, that was the older people at UCSD that were our buddies. That was Victor, that was Amado, you know, the dudes who were 2 or 3 years, 1 year older than us, that I saw that they were doing it. And so I thought, well, I could do it too, right? And I stuck through engineering and we did it.
What about like to even get to college? Like who inspired you, or how did you? Because no one, or I think all three of us are first generation, right? No one
Yeah,
before
Yeah.
us had gone to college, right?
yeah.
So what?
I don't know, man. I mean, I need to come back to that. Right now, my mind is focused on the study,
Mm,
and I sound like a broken record because this is something that I've told Hoser. What I'm gathering the study is saying is that like if you know someone who was able to integrate into the larger structures of society to serve a specialized class and make a decent living, then they would go and lend you a helping hand and mentor you so that you could do that yourself, right? So that you could go work, make a decent living, and get out of poverty.
mm-hmm,
And the way that we have implicitly or very explicitly accepted this is that there's this whole rat race of scarcity that somehow we need to obtain the skills that have been selected by the ruling class to serve them and have social mobility. So just by the premise of the whole study, like I find it kind of disagreeable. But what I'm saying now is like off the rockers of the political spectrum in the United States. Like I'm completely deviating from what is normal discourse in shows like NPR, right? I'm basically saying to summarize it, fuck your study, fuck going and working for the man, and the fact that you have people leaving the neighborhood and making it is not success. That shouldn't be something that should be celebrated. There shouldn't be a hood to leave. There shouldn't be like a bad neighborhood to leave. Everybody should have a standard, decent way to live. Things that we've mentioned here, right? People should be housing secure. People should not go hungry. People should have access to good healthcare. And again, this is like off the rockers. Like, who is this guy? Like, where is he coming from? And it's just
hey,
not normal.
hey, hold on, dude. I didn't even finish like my whole spiel. That's just part one, and I totally
Okay.
agree with you. Like that is not the future. In fact, I think that is kind of where I messed up on the mentoring part. Is that I knew someone that went to college, and I kind of used them as the role model. But the fallacy was that all of my problems would be solved, and I think a lot of Hispanic and like first generation college students fall into this fallacy of if you go to college, your problems will be solved. Like if you work for the man, you get a stable career, your life will be better than your parents and that like what you're saying, Carlos. And the reason why they told us that is because they saw that like maybe in the media and that's what they believe. But again, nobody has done it before, so you don't know. Now that we've done it before, I agree with you 100% that that's not gonna solve all your problems. That's not gonna make you happy. That's not um the key to happiness, the key to life. Like you
So
said, working for money. There's more, which I'm gonna get into. The theme of the podcast is like, what advice would we give? And 100% I agree with you, Carlos. That
yeah, and can I ask something from Carlos? How did you become someone who thinks like that? Did someone mentor you? Like, and not by mentoring, be like, hey, this is how you need to think. But was there someone you kind of like that you guide that was your guide, that was your reference point that you kind of like wanted to imitate, or did you just do it on your own?
I think for me personally, it's life circumstances.
Life circumstance.
So, I'm from San Diego, Tijuana. I was born in San Diego, but for a long time growing up, my mom didn't have status in the United States. So she was what people term undocumented or illegal, right? And I put that in quotes
Mm-hmm.
because it's a really absurd concept, right? So she was always afraid of cops. Every time she saw a cop, it would be triggering to her because she came into the United States illegally and was unsuccessful in two attempts, maybe, and she was taken to custody. And one of those times she was taken to custody, she was already showing with me. And so it makes me proud of my mother and of myself that she was incarcerated essentially by the Border Patrol for trying to cross into the United States. And she was detained for some time and deported. And so right there, man, that kind of sets up who I am now. Like I'm not even born into this world. I'm inside my mother, and she's detained because she's trying to provide myself with a better life.
So in a way, your mom has always been that reference point. That
It's not my mom. Sure, it's my mom, but it's just why. For me,
Mhm.
it's why. Why is there this fence separating this region? Why is there control on the movement of human bodies across the border? Why do some people need to do this illegally? Why others don't? Why is there such a stark contrast? As soon as I head south and cross the border with poverty really in my face and people just begging for money and barely making it
Eh,
by,
mhm.
and why are dollars so coveted? And why
Eh,
are dollars worth more than pesos?
yeah. And
And
I
why does my family think here that we're well off when I just think we're middle class? And
mhm,
for the longest time, I thought I was middle class.
mhm. And I think that's something that we can like we'll get into a little bit in the sense that I think those ideas is something that there are people that are younger than us that I think would benefit from hearing that perspective that you have. But just going back really quick on just like the idea of mentoring, do you guys think that every youth should have at least someone to mentor, to get mentored from? Do you think it's just one person that can do that, or do you think it's like a variety or a community of people that can provide that help, that guidance in life?
yeah, I think it's a variety.
A variety.
And when you're picking a mentor, make sure that they've done it before. So if what you're trying to do is go to college, make sure that it's someone that's gone to college, gone through
Mm-hmm.
it, that looks like you. If you're trying to get in shape, pick somebody that is in shape. Health diet, someone that's like again in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to become a millionaire, then you gotta pick someone that's a self-made millionaire, not someone that like inherited.
And actually, it's funny because I think, like, for me personally, and this is now like from my experience, I've always, since I was a young, since I was like in high school, I always wanted someone to look up to and to guide me through things. And like you said earlier, I saw people and like I followed people, but then they made mistakes, and I was like, this is not the right way to go. Like they were in college, so I was like, okay, cool, yeah, they're going to college. I'm gonna do what he does. But then two months later, he dropped out of college because he got caught in the border smuggling, drugs. And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I mean, they had their own life, and I kind of had to learn that, picking one mentor is kind of like you're at the mercy of whatever they do. If you have a community of them, you can kind of pick a little bit from them, from one person, then pick a little bit from the second person. And then eventually it kind of forms who you are and who you're going to develop to be.
Yeah, everybody has good and bad qualities, so you try to get the good qualities from the different mentors.
Right, right.
But one of my biggest regrets though is that I don't think I reached out enough. I was a little bit of a chicken shit in high school and college, like asking for help, and also maybe too proudful of like
Yeah,
I want to represent my family. I'm Mexican. I can do this. I can go solo.
yeah,
Like too much machismo, too much pride
yeah.
that I definitely regret. Like fuck, man, I should have gone to tutoring more. I should have gone to the
Mm-hmm.
office hours. I should have reached out. And then the last thing I'll mention is that now I'm on the other side as like being a mentor. And whenever there's mentoring programs, I kid you not, there's like double the amount of mentors to mentee ratios. In other words, like there's so much more mentors and less mentees willing to like ask for help. And I think it's because of that feeling that we get of like being called dumb or too prideful or too scared. And 9 times out of 10, if you ask somebody to be a mentor, dude, they're gonna say yes. People that go into careers like ours, like engineering, sciences, like they want to give back. That's part of the reason why they became that. So if you ask them, most people will say yes.
I think you're being really optimistic. I find a lot of scientists and engineers to just be, frankly, servers of power. And I want to go back to a term you used that we should really think critically about what it means. A self-made millionaire. I mean, I don't know any millionaires, but my impression is that there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire in the sense that you cannot accumulate wealth in this society without the exploitation, either indirect or direct, of others. And so if you want to coach someone on getting rich, you're coaching someone on how to maximize their position in an economic society that depends and necessitates the exploitations of others for third party gain. So I'm saying that if I become rich, if I accumulate capital, I can't really do that without exploiting someone else because that's how our economic system makes us relate to each other.
I disagree with you. Man, you're saying it's a zero sum game. So if I make money at the expense of somebody else, but that's not how money works, dude. There's an infinite supply of money. It could always be printed more, which is
Okay, but
part of the
doesn't,
Fed. Oh, hold on. The Federal Reserve, like that's what they do. They print money, so there's an infinite supply, and it's not a zero sum game. So meaning, if somebody gets money, that doesn't mean that somebody else gets screwed over. There's a way that all of us could get ahead and become rich.
I mean, but let's just think of that premise, Edgar. Then what is money worth if it's an infinite supply?
Yeah, no, that's why we have inflation. It's not good to print money. But what I'm saying is, you're saying it's a zero sum game. That meaning, if I get ahead, I'm screwing somebody else, and I don't think that's true.
No, and then, I mean, indirectly or directly, I think, yes, not you getting ahead. I'm talking about an accumulation of wealth in which you're becoming a millionaire. Like I said, I don't know millionaires, but I imagine if someone can accumulate so much wealth, it's at the expense of others, of somehow either directly or indirectly exploiting them for their benefit. And then
Man,
going
dude,
back to your point, which you've mentioned two or three times, is that the solution is that we all be rich? Physically, that's not sustainable. Can you imagine everyone in India and China and Mexico and Central America living the American dream? Do you know the energy that that would cost the biosphere? Do you know the amount of pollution that would put in our atmosphere? Just think physically about that. Everybody eating meat, having a nice yard that's green with the backyard, with an expensive car that's maybe electrical, with all the material accumulations, with all the fucking plastic. Just physically, I don't think the earth has infinite resources as you're claiming the money supply is infinite.
okay, I'm glad you brought this up though. The American dream. This is lesson number 3. Um,
No, but address
the
that point. Address the point of the
I didn't.
solution is
Okay,
for everyone to get rich.
what does it mean to be rich? That my point is, you said to be rich,
The way we're framing the conversation is to accumulate capital. That's
to
the way
accumulate
we
wealth, right?
framed it.
Okay. Well, my point, my next point is that, yeah, if you become rich, don't become a rich asshole, and don't do what you just said, the American dream. That, because again, that's another shit that gets sold to us, got sold to our parents. That's the reason why they crossed the border, is to create a better life for them and for us. But part of that was like kind of like material American dream image that they bought into. You mentioned a lot of things, right? Buy a nice car, buy a house, big ass screen TV. And so my advice for that is no. If you become rich, like, you gotta be responsible with your money. And part of that is to create generational wealth. So some of it is like to pass it down, and then some of it is to help others. I've said that so many times, like, volunteer time to become a coach, to
Let me ask you something with the self-made millionaire, Carlos. So you said that there's no such thing because someone has to, you're making your millions off of someone's labor, right? Or slavery, but someone had to teach them how to do that, right? You always said, I think people are inherently good, right? But someone had to teach them, someone had to mentor them in a way how to make these millions. I think there's a movie out there called, I don't know if it's The Art of the Deal
that's
or
Donald Trump, dude.
no, yeah, it's a Donald Trump movie where I guess it shows who mentored him to think how he thinks today.
Hey, but
You mean the biotopic,
Yeah, yeah.
the Cohen dude or something, the Cohen.
Yeah, right. And so I didn't haven't seen it. My sister was telling me about it. That I guess he's the one who taught him, like, no, these are skyscrapers. This is how you do these things. Like, and so right now when you were talking about the self-made millionaire, everyone's like, oh, so evil. I hate these oligarchs. But someone had to teach him to be like that. Someone had to teach them. Someone had to mentor them to be like that. To be like, nah, dude, don't touch your heart like that. Like don't think about them like that. Just you send your labor there and make sure that they charge you less. Someone had to mentor like that.
Hey, but the art of the deal, or Donald Trump's like thinking, is kind of like what Carlos was saying, the zero sum game, where he actively tells you to fuck the other side, get as much as
Yeah,
you can from them, and screw them.
but my focus is someone had to teach them that.
Well, that's a bad mentor, dude. Because I'm saying
Is it?
that doesn't make you
I mean,
happy.
well, it made him
Look,
happy.
the dude's president of the United States.
Yeah, it made him
How would
happy.
you feel if one of your mentees becomes president of the United States? You'd feel pretty good about that, right? And
Well,
this is what I'm
I
saying,
would teach him
that the
to.
values that are necessary for you to do that are precisely what Hoser is
Wait,
laying out.
wait, but I'm not
What?
saying I'm not. Hold on. I'm not saying that being a mentor is the wrong thing
No,
or
I'm
is
not
not
saying that
needed.
either.
No, but what
No,
I'm
you guys are
saying is,
saying that making money is bad.
well, no, I don't think so. But what I'm saying is
There's
the whole,
limits.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. You don't need
But
to be a billionaire.
the point I'm trying to bring in here is the importance of a mentor. A mentor can either can make you flourish in whatever career, like you said, Edgar, to make you happy, or it can literally go the other way and make you so cold hearted that you can build a whole empire off of the suffering of people, you know? And I think regardless of what side you're in or what do you think, you need a mentor. Because I think out of all, whether it's the good or bad, whatever you guys think is good or bad, because that's another topic, the moral dilemma.
Well, I see what you're saying, Jose. So
And
like
so
Anakin Skywalker hanged out with
exactly with
the
Palpatine,
Palpatine too much.
yeah, exactly. Or does he hang out with Obi-Wan, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, if you wouldn't have hung out with either a Jedi or a Sith, all his gifts would have gone to waste. You know what I mean? So he had to pick a side.
This is such like propaganda we're discussing of like the
Star Wars,
values, the system. Yes, Star Wars is part of a
Star Wars,
propaganda system that is meant to ingrain us with certain values and aspirations so that we can able to thrive in the system, right?
I would even say, like, for you, for example, Carlos, like, although you're like, no, it was personal life. In college, you hung out. There was a season when you hung out with a lot of outside thinking people who made you kind of question your own things at that moment. But I think that eventually kind of guided you, mentored you in a way to lead you to this point right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they were mentors.
Well, but
I
they
mean, look,
influenced you, I guess. Yeah.
you going back to Edgar's point about machismo and pride and not asking for help and
No.
not seeking mentors. I clearly remember, as I'm sure the two of you do as well, that time we went to a ship meeting and this guy shows up, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. This guy shows up in a suit, and one of the first things he says, do you guys think there's slaves today? Do you guys
Yeah.
think slaves exist in our society? And he starts laying out this argument on how we're basically all slaves and that the only way to get free is to work for yourself. And me, agreeing with him like 100% at the time, wasn't ready to go up to him, shake his hand, and say, you know what, I agree with you. And, I want to be in touch with you and I want to get to know you better so that I can imitate what you did to get free.
Right.
I didn't have it in me back then.
Yeah. And do you think that had to do something with pride or with
Yeah, it's what Edgar said.
yeah? And I agree because I was the same way. I had to have someone kind of like tell me like in high school, like, hey, apply for college. Hey, do SATs. Hey, do this. And then eventually I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do it. But I think that's why I failed my undergrad. Failed in the sense that I could have done much better, but I did pretty poor. If it wasn't for my homie Manny, what's up, Manny? Honestly, I don't think I would have made it as an engineer, but as an electrical engineer, because you guys were engineers, but you guys only able to help me up to like physics and math, and then after that, you guys like you're on your own, which is it makes sense, right? But I was so proud, I was so like introverted into my own little bubble that I didn't want to ask for help, and you know, it hurt me. However, it was important to have friends in the community that I had there because I remember our friend Amado. It actually in one of if it wasn't that shit meeting, it was in another next one. I remember he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey man, I heard you're struggling a little bit in school." I was like, "Yeah, dude, I am a little bit." He's like, "You know what? You should stop all these extracurriculars and just focus on school and get it done." And
What
to
is
me,
your curriculars?
well, like, cause I wanted to be part of ship, and then I wanted
Mm.
to. I was doing band, and but he was caring enough to pull me aside and tell me, "Hey, focus on your school, cause you're messing up."
Yeah, he should have connected you with an electrical engineer from ship.
Yeah, but I didn't seek for it either. I was kind of
Yeah, that
proud.
would have been smart. Like, look, I know he's an electrical engineer. He's 1 year ahead of you, 2 years ahead of you.
Hmm.
Wouldn't you
Hmm.
get in contact and like he could be a guide
Yeah, yeah.
to the
And so
classes?
and so now like for example, like I was saying at the beginning, like this year I had an intern. That's what I was trying to do with that guy. I'm like, hey, here, this is what I can do to help you. Apply here, apply there, apply this. If you need a letter rec, send, this is my email. And I mean, cause, and the kid was genuinely appreciative, and it reminded me a little bit about how I was, how, like what the help I needed, but I was too proud to ask for it. Now I'm trying to take that advantage of, or that position of, I just give it. I just give it. However, one thing I have seen recently is that I've seen kids or people younger than me that have potential, and I try to help them, and they're like they're receptive. They're like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna do it, and they don't do it. They turn around, they don't do it. They just ignore everything I said, and they just goes out the window. And you're like, dude, I thought we talked about this. I thought I had a breakthrough, and they're just back to normal, or they're just on a path that will not be successful for them, right?
I think maybe I can relate to this because I remember receiving advice from my dad, and I have tensions in the relationship that I have with my dad. And so his advice would come in 1 year and go out the next. And part of me was acting out against his good intentions to try to help me out and would be like, what do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you think I want to be like you? Nah.
Right.
And you know what? Like, sadly, to this day, I think I'm still like that. And it might be a sign of immaturity or it might be just a reality check on how we function in a society is that I don't see anyone I can aspire to be in my professional community. Like there's some people who are great mentors, who are great friends, who are genuinely good people, but there's something that's missing. That's like hard to identify for me to be like, I want to be like that person. I
Well,
haven't found anyone like that.
well, Holzer mentioned that mentors could be friends, and I was saying about your circle, your inner circle, and how like you're basically gonna become your inner circle. Who you are is defined by who you're hanging out with. So if you look at like everyone within your friends and stuff like that, whether it's explicit or implicit, their habits and their like life aspirations are gonna rub off on you. So that's important to know like who you're hanging out with and if that's the kind of life you want because that's kind of like how it's gonna end up.
And so, would you say that a mentor, in reality, mentors are really just influencers? So people that just in real, like,
Not
what
a
I'm,
like an Instagram influencer.
no, 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 yeah, no, like what I mean to say is, in reality, a mentor is not just one person that will show you every single way, like wakes up and tells you, okay, we're gonna do this, okay, we're gonna do this, but it's more like someone who lives out their life and then just kind of, and then from how they live their life out, you kind of get influence from that, right? And you kind of like take in what you see is fruitful for them from them, what's not fruitful, right?
Mm. Yeah, I think a mentor is like a either a role model or someone that just can give you some like good advice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would say like it sounds like Amalo helped a lot of us because he helped me get
Oh yeah.
my first like engineering job,
Mm-hmm.
and he helped me out a lot through school. And
And
yeah, he was like a buddy, a little bit older than us,
mm-hmm.
Just
but
like a
yeah,
year,
that
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
like only a year. So I mean, we're within the same age range, but he can be.
Hmm.
I mean, he was a huge mentor to I think to all of us.
Yeah.
And then from you guys, like living with you guys, I learned some different qualities. You know, for all that Carlos talks about, like screw the system, questioning everything. Like yeah, it kind of rubs off on me, and I don't take everything. You know, I try to like question things a little bit more. So there's good things from all of you.
I agree with that. I'm mentioning a little bit what Carlos was saying about how he didn't like with his dad. It was hard for him to receive advice. I know I relate to that. That's how I was a lot with my dad, and it's funny because as I'm growing older, I'm seeing a lot of the things that he saw, and I'm like, oh man, I should have listened to him. I should have done what he said. Um, but I personally feel that today in the world, a lot of the youth is like that. They don't want to listen to stuff. So
Yeah, I think that that's
do you
a
think that's something like with this generation, or do you think that they don't want to like that there's some advice that they just don't take in and they just want to live young, wild, and free, or do you think that's just the thing with every generation?
I think it's every generation.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the most frustrating parts about being a mentor is like what you said, Hoser, is like you tell them the steps on how to get there, and then they don't either don't do it, don't take action, or they do something different, and you're like, what the heck? I thought we talked about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's probably they're just not ready, and that doesn't mean you should be discouraged. And it could mean that like the advice will pay off later. Maybe later in their life they'll remember what you told them, and like then they
Cool.
apply it. So I don't think it's like a this Gen Z generation. I think it's always been like that.
So let's start with some advice, huh? Let's start giving some advice in different topics. So I think Carlos was very passionate about this topic. So let's see. So let's go. Let's start with this one. So if we had someone younger than us that was around, say, the college age, what piece of advice you would give them regarding finances?
Finances.
You asking Carlos or me?
Both of you, money,
Okay, mine
money
would be
and
don't
finances.
listen to Carlos, man. This guy's giving like really bad advice on the finances side. First of all, $1 million now is not even that much money, dude. All right, I'll just tell you that much. Even a couple million is not that much money. By the time we
Okay,
retire,
but what do you mean? Like $1 million where? Sitting on your checking account? Or a
no, no,
million
I'm
dollars
talking
net
about
worth?
net worth. Okay, that's a very important term to understand. Net worth means how many assets you have minus how much debt you have. So, for example, if you own a house that's worth $600,000 and you own a car, a really nice car that's you owe $100,000, then your net worth is $500,000. If you own a car and you paid it with your credit card and you're minus 30,000, then your net worth is like negative. So you might appear to be rich, like a lot of people do. They buy really nice cars, like well outside of their means, and they think they're ahead. They think that it looks cool. It looks so you might look rich, but in reality, you owe that much money, so your net worth is negative. And so you wanna make sure that your net worth is going up, not down, and that means buying assets. So the advice I would give the youth is to start investing early, very early. You don't even have to put that much money. You could put in like $10, $20, whatever. And there's only two investments that I would say are safe and give a good return. And these have been around either for hundreds of years or thousands of years. And that would be real estate and the S&P 500. S&P 500 is just a combination of the 500 biggest companies, buying stock from them. So you are not putting out your eggs all in one basket. If one of them goes down, that's fine. You got 499 more. Um, so yeah, you don't even have to. I think a house is kind of hard to aspire to, but at some point you should try to buy land or real estate. But the one you can start now is buying some S&P 500 stock.
Right. Like two
Uh,
things that are really rub me off the wrong way. The illegitimate concept of private property, of, you know, building a fence around a piece of land and claiming it as yours, which basically has us in all this geopolitical mess we're in, which the two main threats to human civilization are climate change and nuclear war. All because someone decided that they could put some fence around a piece of land and claim it as theirs. And then the second one, S&P 500, it's this thing that exists as zeros and ones on some computing machines, on some servers, in which the assets of what the 500 biggest corporations are lumped together. And those big corporations are nefarious players. What they do to the biosystem, what they do to people in the elsewhere, you know, in colonies, how they exploit people of their labor. And we go back to where we started, in my opinion. There's no real way that you can get ahead, that you can be self-made without relating to others violently in some way, either very directly or indirectly down the line. So that's what it is, right? If we accept that this is the way things are and that this is the way things are going to be, then I think the advice you gave is excellent. Sure. Start putting some money in your pocket and, you know, have some cash flow liquidity for your benefit. But then
I
here's
have
the thing.
accepted it.
Yeah, here's the thing is that that mindset has us in the hole in which we're digging ourselves into, which really threatens our collective survival here as a species and threatens ecosystems and the biosphere as a whole. And so I'm being really off the rockers crazy to start questioning that seriously and start seeking to live and relate to each other differently. Right. And as a first piece of advice to the youth, I would say that if you're tuning into us, stop tuning into us. Stop listening to what we do for ourselves. What's going on now isn't really for the youth. It's for us. I'm seeing you guys. I'm having a conversation with you guys. You could say that we're working on getting more viewers. And so if you want to see it as work that we're doing, why are you going to waste your time watch other people work? It's like for me personally, when I have the choice of watching a soccer game or getting ahead in my work, that's how I view it. It's like, why am I going to watch professional soccer players play? Why am I going to watch people work when I could be working on my own projects? And so my first piece of advice to the youth, stop tuning into us. Go do your thing, whatever your thing is going to be. If you want to be a professional skateboarder, go skate. If you want to be a scientist, brush up on your math and science. If you want to be a CEO, then go read The Art of the Deal. Maybe watch Trump's biotopic movie or whatever, but do your thing, right? That's basically what I would
but
advise.
This guy
but
started off the rails and brought it like, whoa, that was
to
actually
the
really good
rails.
advice.
But but can I push back on that? how, and this is kind of what I was trying to say with in the time episode. You're telling them, go do it. How will they do it if they don't know how to do it? If they've never seen someone do it?
Well, okay, but he brought up a good topic because people that are gonna see us is like on social media, on the internet, right? And this goes back to like the false models that a lot of people are rejecting the in-person mentor and trying and taking up these like role models from online. And I think what Carlos is saying is true. I kind of agree with him. It's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't tune into us or to other online influencers because what you put out in social media and the internet is not kind of like the whole picture. And so when you're seeking out a mentor, I think it's better to do it in person. Someone that you know. On the online stuff, you can take some advice and stuff, but you take it with a grain of salt. And I do agree with Hoser is like, yeah, go do it, but you're right. You need someone and that should be like an in person kind of thing. So if like the example Carlos gave, skateboarding, go skate with your mentor. Yeah, do it in the real world. I think that's good advice.
Cool. So then if they want to get, so in finances, if they want to get rich, then just go get rich. Stop watching these self-help videos.
You read books. I think the number one best finance book of all time is the Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, that one's really good.
So from Carlos's perspective, is just go and that's your thing. Go get rich.
Yeah, like if you want to go exploit people, go exploit people, start subcontracting your task to someone in South Asia. Like I think Edgar has suggested some episodes ago, like the 4-hour work week or something, that like you need to delegate your task to someone. That's
Yes.
basically what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Your time on the market is worth much more than someone in South Asia. So delegate your boring tasks that don't align with your mission and vision to them, right?
Hey, I didn't.
And some can say that's not exploitive. You're providing someone a living wage there. Your dollar goes a long way somewhere else. And I can see the point. I can see like, yeah, sure, yeah, why not? But in my mind, that's like trying to be a boss, trying to squeeze time from someone else so that your well-being, so that your economic position is benefiting from that.
Man, I gotta clear my name. First of all, yeah, I said that, but I was quoting the book. That's what the book said. My advice was no, don't do that, but instead
Oh,
use like you can use interns here or delegate to your own like
AI.
coworkers or
see,
use
Edgar's
a
Edgar's America first. Edgar's bringing those jobs back home, close.
Yeah, because it's a win-win. Like let's say it's at your job. If you bring interns, dude, they're there to get experience. So you should give them these like tasks to do because it's win-win. You get a load off your plate and they get the experience that they're looking for. Or use that AI or whatever.
So with that, here's my second question though.
No, we're not done with the finances, dude. Do not listen to this guy, man. That doesn't mean that you're exploiting people. And in this, so he said, if you accept the system, if you accept where we're headed, then my advice was good. And I'm trying to say that, yeah, I've mentioned in podcasts before that climate change is real. This shit is gonna hit the fan, right? So yeah, you not only do you want to take care of yourself and your immediate family by becoming wealthy, but also when you get to that point, try to take care of as many people like us as you can by giving them this advice and like getting them out of poverty so that they could have a better life.
And I've said that it's precisely that mindset of getting wealthy that is taking us down this path of climate change and environmental degradation. And I've
Yeah, but
said before that the most valuable capital that we're going to have when the shit hits the fan is community, is relationships amongst people that we trust to have our back and to people whose back we'd also like to cover.
that's one. The second is resources, money. Like, how are you guys gonna live? What insurance are you gonna buy? Who's
Okay,
gonna bail you out when there's fucking medical bills because you got sick because of the stormwater flooding?
okay, let me paint a scenario to you. There's no electricity. There's no banks. There's no hospitals. Uh, Imagine we're going back 20,000 years in time in which we need to be part of a tribe to do simple things.
Oh,
What's your
I
paper? What's your paper going to be worth then?
yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna get to that bad. I think there will be mass casualties, yes, but
Why not?
money. Only like 2% of scientists, the science community says that we're gonna get to the point you're saying where society collapse, mass extinction, your money's no good. Only like 2%. The most of them say that.
Where do you get that number?
I looked it up. I gotta like do the research, but that's kind of from what I remember. Most scientists, climate scientists, would agree that yeah, like the increase in temperature is gonna cause mass migration, um, what do you call it, like death, not mass extinction,
A population
but
decrease.
I don't think society is gonna like collapse. I don't think the free market's gonna collapse. So the money is still good
So,
in
so
in the world that I think we're gonna live in.
I disagree with you. I don't think it's will society collapse. I think it's a matter of when society will collapse. And I think so far we've been lucky because we've been this close from initiating nuclear war between the United States and Russia. And it doesn't happen because people are cautious and they double check the false alarms that whatever system they have gave them. So we've been really close to the brink of initiating a nuclear war between the United States and Russia. And the way that we're headed, I don't think that that probability has decreased. So what I'm foreseeing is a coupling of climate change with the nuclear winter. It's not a matter of if. To me, it's a matter of when. So I'm a little bit more certain, like maybe 90% certain, that your money is going to be paper, that your house is just going to be a physical space that someone with physical force can potentially take over because the rule of law will be no more. And as we speak, there are places in which the rule of law doesn't exist, and we don't have to go that far. I could say concretely that places in Mexico are like that already, in which it's a wild, wild west, in which the mafia, the carteles, the narcos call the shots. Why? Because they have drones, because they have grenades, because they have armored vehicles, and because they have automatic weapons that are coming in from the United States. This is Mexico. I'm not talking about the Middle East. I'm not talking about the Sahel.
So
This is today.
all of that from what you're saying, it's like that impacts your finances. That impacts how you
Uh,
look at finances today.
no, okay, I get what Carlos is saying, and I'm starting to come full circle. So there's two diverging viewpoints on money, and you can follow what Carlos says, or you can follow what I say. But one important thing that Carlos said, and that I think is true, is he said the importance of community. Um, so yeah, Jose. I mean, I think you're trying to get to like the next question, or what other advice you would you give? So ignoring the money side, they can decide for themselves what they want to do. The money itself, I was saying, is like a resource, but it's not gonna make you happy. So if from now until the time of your death, the things that will make you happy is like I think more on the side of what Carlos is saying.
Right.
And I
And
don't know if that's where you're going next on like
no, I
more
actually
life advice.
so kind of what I kind of wanted to ask is because this kind of goes hands in hand, and it kind of what Carlos was saying earlier is what do you guys what advice would you give to someone younger with respect to work, or school and college? I know those are two different things, but I know Carlos kind of in past episodes he's clumped them in the sense of they're all there for a purpose. But let's go with the topic of work. What advice would you give them about finding a job, about being in a job, about going to school to get a job?
Yeah,
The
on this
best,
one, whatever Carlos says, I agree with him on this one.
yeah, the best job you can have is one that makes you feel free and one that you can't get enough of and one that you want to do on the weekends. The worst job you can have is something that you do Monday through Friday and you can't wait for Friday to clock out. Succinctly, that's my opinion on work and on jobs and on how to relate to them.
That's good.
Yeah, I would echo what Carlos said, and I would also caution you that again, I think we as Latinos, first generation that are kind of pioneering this and don't have role models that have done it before, we tend to think that your job becomes your identity, And I caution you, like, do not fall into that. Your identity should be more than just your job. You should have a work life balance. You should have activities outside of your job. You should love what you do, definitely, but you should also have a lot of things on the side that you're doing. For example, I do like mentoring on the side. I coach my son's soccer team. I myself do boxing. I play soccer. I write books, read books. Like, man, there's so many things that we do. And I've been lucky that I work for the city that gives me like a lot of flexibility. So I telecommute a lot. That gives me time to get off work early, go pick up my son, take him to the doctor, do a little bit more work, do some, I don't know, whatever I need to do. There's flexibility in in my schedule. I control my own schedule, and that's really really cool. Um, but lately I've seen someone very close to me like started work for a accounting firm. Basically, they do taxes for like huge corporations. Jesus Christ, man, I forgot what it was like to work in private. Man, they're slaves, dude. Like literally slaves. She said that once she clocks in, at work, like they check when she clocks out. Like they have AI programs that know when she's working and when she's not, and then they're expected to go home and continue to work until like freaking like 12 a.m., 1 a.m. And the AI knows when they're at home working. So I was asking her like, can we go out to eat? And it's like, no, no, no. They know if I leave my desk. It's like, what the hell? So dude, they're putting in like in one day like 10, 12 hours, and no matter how much they pay you, that shit is not worth it, man. It's not worth your time. So for the work is like, do not let work consume all of your time. And I think a lot of people fall into that of they become their job. I mean, look at Google, they have like gym and restaurants, and like the more time you spend there, the more they own you. You're like a slave to the company. And this is where I agree with Carlos is like, do not fall into that. If you can, work for yourself, have a little side hustle. That's probably my advice.
Cool. The third category where I would like to see what advice you would guys would give is in the terms of relationships. Not only love relationships or like with partners, but also with friends. What piece of advice would you guys give someone younger um than you guys about relationships?
I can speak for myself that when I got to college and I met you guys, I got really comfortable. And I felt that I didn't need to expand my social network because I met you guys, because we were part of a team and that team felt like a community. And sometimes you met other people through that community, but I didn't actively seek out to expand my social and professional network. And so that I think was a mistake from my part when I was an undergrad at UCSD. And it's something that I might be guilty of doing to this day, of not actively cultivating a network that can help me with potential career opportunities. You need to be really intentional about that. And, full disclosure, the advice that I'm giving is one that I would like to follow, but that I have not gotten around to.
Damn, that's actually really true. Yeah, I remember being really scared when I went to college because everything was new. And I think as soon as I found that group that like looked like me and I felt comfortable, I felt like like relief. But yeah, looking back is like shit. I should have. I don't know why I was so scared of like going outside my circle. I do it a lot now because part of my job kind of requires me to do it, and I usually dread like, oh man, I have to go like socialize and network and be outside of my comfort zone. But then once it's done, it's like, I'm glad it came out. It was like fun. I met new people, and then those contacts later pay off. Like somehow, either they like know me or I know them through a future project. And it's like, oh shit, I know that guy. Hey, what's up? And it like pays off. Um, yeah, and then in terms of relationships, like I've mentioned before, is don't don't lose who you. Just like I said, like don't get consumed into your job. Also, don't get consumed into your relationship. Your relationship is just another part of your identity. And you should not become fully consumed by it. We always make
The
fun of Carlos because he has this like very famous quote where he says, you joke that it's like we're
two
two, we're
oranges,
we're 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 one orange and this is my better half. But I like his quote of like, nah, dude, it's not
two
that we're
oranges.
half an orange. It's like each one is their own orange. a whole orange. I looking back now, I totally agree with that. Is make sure that you not only you but your partner, spouse, whatever, retains their identity as well, and that you don't lose sight of your other relationships. Like, don't sacrifice other relationships for this one relationship. You know, stay close with your friends, your family, because your happiness depends on not just one relationship, but a few good relationships.
Hmm. Carlos, anything to add with the love spouse relationship advice?
No, not really. Like, I agree with what Edgar said.
Cool. And the last one I have, guys, is guys, what advice would you guys give about the future? When we were young, we had a whole future to think about, but now you've lived a little bit longer, and so no, what do you guys want to caution the youth about the future that's coming up that you guys are seeing, or like recommend or advise the youth?
So it's funny because on my drive over here to LA, I was listening to same shit, Hidden Brain, and the theme of the podcast was the best years of your life, which studies have shown is in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And yeah, it's contrary to what most people think in media and all that. Like, getting old is a bad thing, right? Like, you get wrinkles and it's like you start losing your mind or whatever. It's portrayed very badly in the media, but time and time again, the studies have shown that no, as you get older, actually, you become much happier. And can anyone guess why?
I guess because you don't worry as much, because you don't
Yeah, because
care
you don't
really
care
what other
about yeah.
people are thinking. You're just like
That's what I would think too.
enjoying the present because the future might not be no guaranteed.
Exactly. It's this thing that Carlos always says: your death horizon. So the older you get, as you get closer to death, there is no future for you. So you can't think about the future anymore. It forces you to live in the present. And so that was the advice that they gave the young kids, is the young kids, they live in the future. Their mind is always in the future, thinking about like all their what the future is bright, all their accomplishments, and they kind of forget to live in the present moment. And so they recreated those studies by like kind of like manipulating like young people to think that they're about to die, and they had the same effect. They like became much happier. They because now their death. So it's not so much about becoming older. It's how close are you to death, and that could be when you're young too. And so yeah, it forces you to live in the present, not think so much about the future, and kind of like what you said, like you don't care about like material things anymore. Now you really care about what's important to you, and that's kind of where like you spend your time.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny because that's what I was gonna say. Live in the moment, savor the moment, because time flies. To me, it feels like yesterday that, the three of us were roommates, and it's been more than a decade. And when it was happening, I took it for granted
Hmm.
that you guys were living like two doors down from me, that we could just like, hey, you want to go eat? Yeah, let's go eat. And I didn't really savor it as much as I should have. But there's also something that I regret I didn't do when I was younger is also pay attention to what's happening at a more macro scale. Like the 2008 recession happened near or during our career at UCSD. I wasn't even aware of it. I didn't even know. And that clearly impacted us,
Yeah.
our career prospects. And so I regret not being aware of, these macro events that have an impact on my potential earnings situation. And so I think it's a delicate balance we need to find about learning from our past, about living in the present, and in having some intuition or desire of where you want to go. But the most important place to be is right here, right now, in the present.
The other thing I would say is the two of my favorite quotes come from the movie Into the Wild by Sean Penn. And it's kind of like it has to deal with the key to happiness. And this goes back to what Carlos was saying about like, the money is not the most important thing. Yeah, sure, it's resources or whatever. And that's the point I was trying to make. But really, what's gonna make you happy is what you do with it. And so the two quotes from that movie are one, happiness only real when shared, and two, the core of man's spirit comes from new experiences. So basically, you have to share your money with others. You have to spend time with others. That's the key to making you happy, spending quality time with others. Material things like buying a car, buying a house, purchasing clothes, looking good, like that shit, none of that will make you happy. The experiences is like kind of where we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone, traveling, coaching, playing in a team. What Carlos was saying, getting out, like stop listening to the podcast, just go out there and do stuff. So do stuff and do it with others is basically like the key to happiness.
And I guess to kind of wrap it up, I want to ask all of us, what was the best piece of advice that you guys got when you guys were young and that's still impacting you today?
I think the best piece of advice I got was from my aunt, the one that inspired me to go to college. She told me that if I work hard enough, like, I'll get to college, and it was true. I worked really hard and got to college, but it worked well up until that point, and then after that, I was kind of lost. So I don't think there's like one piece of
One
advice
piece of advice?
that like holds true for forever. It was
Yeah,
very good up until that point.
that's good.
I guess for me, it would be something that I read that I wish I would have been presented to much earlier in my life, even as a child, is that the burden of proof is on authority. If authority can't sustain why it's authority over you, it should be questioned, and in the best case scenario, dismantled, right? And so a classic example that Chomsky give is like when you stop a toddler from running into a street full of cars, your authority is justified over the toddler because you're maintaining his physical well-being, right? You're preventing him from getting run over. But if you're just taking a ball away from a toddler who's having fun playing with the ball, then how is your authority legitimate over that? How is it serving the well-being of the toddler? You're exerting an illegitimate type of violence over that toddler. And so that's a very kind of simple analogy that can be extrapolated into these big coercive systems of power that we've alluded to and discussed here in this podcast. Like that AI supervisor clocking in to your friend's accounting work performance, that sounds like a recipe for unhappiness. And that sounds literally like a modern day slave to me. Question that authority. Is that authority legitimate over you? Is that the authority that you want to be hovering over your activities and dictating how you live your life? The cleverness of the system is that it's tricked us into being slaves for it for the profit of a few over the misery of many.
Yeah, we think it's normal,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, and the health part is like very important too. I think the older you get, the more like you gotta have make sure you have good habits health wise when you're young. I think we're very lucky, Carlos, that we played sports growing up because it was like ingrained into us, and so we keep doing it into old age. Um, but if you haven't started, yeah, yeah, health is very important. Get those like eating healthy, exercising. Doesn't even have to be that drastic. Like even little changes, as long as you get used to it over time, they pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think that's good advice to me. And this is how we'll end it today. The best advice I got was don't chase happiness. Because happiness goes away. It just fades away. Because it doesn't sustain. Because you can be happy today, but then you'll be sad tomorrow. You're like, oh, I need happiness, but find joy. And the only advice I can give youth is that seek a spiritual side. Yeah, and the spiritual side, there's joy. Yep. All
What's the
right,
difference
gentlemen.
between joy
Yeah,
and
what the fuck?
happiness?
This would just like drop some lore, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
What the
what's the
heck?
difference between joy and happiness?
Joy is maintained even in the moments of sadness, and happiness.
Joy is like an overarching your overall life versus happiness is like in the moment kind of like right now I
Yeah,
feel happy, but then
yeah.
but joy
And,
in your
and
life
so
is
a
like
lot of people are like, oh, seek happiness, seek happiness, seek happiness.
yeah,
But today I'm happy, but tomorrow I'm gonna be all sad. The next
yeah.
day I may be angry, and then on the third day, if I'm kind of sad again, I'm gonna be like, dude, I'm not happy. I gotta change my ways.
But how
But
is
if
joy
you're
present
joyous,
in you then?
huh?
Huh?
How is joy present with you then?
Well, that's the thing. See, joy is something that has to sustain you, even when people die, people, and so a lot of people are really seeking joy, they're not really seeking happiness. And so how to seek that joy, it varies. But I believe that through a spiritual side, you will find that joy.
Yeah, I think if you just keep doing it's more like a philosophy. If you keep doing the things that make you happy, which is the do things for others, then overall, like your life will have joy. You could have sad moments, but because you're doing the right
Well,
things,
and
and
I mean, and
they'll
this is
pick
a
back
side
up.
note. This is a side note, but I think that's kind of what's going on with our generation right now. Our generation is telling the younger ones, be happy, do whatever makes you happy, but happy is very finite. Happiness is very finite, and so they don't understand it. They're like, dude, you're telling me to be happy, but I'm not feeling happy today. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling this, and so they're like, what the heck, like. They feel lost. They feel reality. You're telling them to seek joy. And
Okay,
joy,
yeah. So joy comes from the like doing experiences, doing things for others. The happiness I can see is like getting a hit of Instagram. Like, yeah, that will make you happy right there in the moment. You get a hit,
exactly.
but it's not like
Right.
you get what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
could take a
yeah,
hit of like some
yeah,
drugs. You could
exactly,
take a hit
exactly.
of
You can take a hit of weed, and that's why people like the vape and the
And kind of
yeah.
what you two mentioned, I think I would notch down my level of advice, and I would just say, be human. Try to maintain your humanity. Try to have relationships with people face to face. Maintain eye contact, to check in on people, do things together with people, and try not to let the machines run and control your life. It's really startling to me how concretely this was discussed today. This isn't Terminator. This is AI supervising the amount of productivity that you're inputting to a corporation. Don't let the machines run your life. Don't let the machines tell you what to buy. Don't let the machines suggest some fancy product you don't have a need for that suddenly you have a desire for. Don't let the machines know you better than you know yourself. Try to maintain your humanity. And with that, I want to see how that goes 10 years from now, based on the conversations we had in San Diego when I was there recently.
All right, y'all. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you guys for your sage advice. I believe that someone's gonna listen to it and they're gonna get impacted by that. So thank you guys. You guys are full of wisdom. You guys are very smart, and I know. I just can't wait to see what you guys learn in a year.
Thank you guys. You guys are full of shit.
Nah,
Stop tuning into us. Unsubscribe. We want our
don't
channel to
don't
grow from word of mouth. We
no.
want we want the algorithm to be confused. So I want everyone to unsubscribe, but keep tuning in, keep giving the likes. And so hopefully we have 0 subscribers and millions of views. And the algorithm won't know what the bleep is going on with this bewildered herd. So follow that
That would
advice.
that would actually be pretty funny.
No, don't do that. Please like and subscribe our channel, please.
No,
Well,
I'm not. I
the
mean,
choice is yours.
recommend us word of mouth, say like, hey, there's this bewildered herd who kind of seems bewildered, but they raise some interesting points. Tune in,
Oh, okay, okay,
but don't
okay,
subscribe. Don't
okay.
subscribe.
So,
He's
Unsubscribe.
he's
so
saying don't
don't
make us money because the way we make money is by subscribers. So
so don't
basically, he's like,
subscribe and don't like. All right, don't subscribe and
They could
don't like.
like, they could
yeah, you
like,
can like,
but don't subscribe.
Okay, fine.
yeah. That's the
So
only
don't
way
sus-
we make money is by
so
subscription.
don't subscribe. All right, do not subscribe.
Yeah, unsubscribe if you're
Don't
subscribed,
subscribe.
please, and go ahead and recommend us to 5 people. Just five
Okay,
people,
there you
random
go.
people,
Just five. Just
and
five.
then tell those 5 people to recommend us to other 5 people. And before you know, we'll have infected people's minds like a virus, either for good or bad.
Sage advice, guys. Sage advice.
All
right.
Shit.
Nah. all right, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. So peace out. Yeah.